I'm here to tell you guys. 3. Yo! What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Libra Views. I'm Charlene. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. So, baby, I'm here to talk about Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 12, Episode 2. I haven't really reviewed Real Housewives of New Jersey in the past, but I have been an avid follower of Real Housewives of New Jersey since Season 1. So I feel like, why not give it a go? I think this season is going to be a little bit more interesting than last season. Last season was kind of a little lackluster. It kind of had like one main storyline, whereas I feel like this one may have, a few elements to it. So let's just get into it. So the episode picks up where it left off from last week's episode of Margaret and Jennifer having the conversation about Margaret bringing up the fact that Jennifer's husband had an affair on her years prior, right? So, Jennifer is, of course, upset. She's crying. She asked for her husband to leave, And I thought it was cool that Jennifer didn't tell her husband immediately. I think Jennifer is really kind of like the ultimate kind of traditional wife where she really believes in making her husband look good at all costs. So I feel like, as we've seen Teresa do in the past, where something may have happened and she'll immediately go and tell Joe, or something will happen and the ladies will immediately go tell their husband. Jen didn't do that. So her and her husband just left. She was clearly upset. Once they got into the car, got away from everything, Jen disclosed the information. Now, her husband, I believe his name is Aiden, he said, that Marge was, had a bad character for bringing up, these rumors and this, that, and the third, when I wouldn't be too quick to speak because, there has been other people in the group that have done the same thing that Jen is cool with. So if you're calling Marge a snake for doing that, then essentially you're calling Jen's other friends a snake as well. But nonetheless, they're having this conversation. They go home. And, I feel bad for, I feel bad for Jennifer. But at the same time, we'll get into the logistics of all of that as we go on. From what I believe, after Jennifer left, Teresa and Gia, and it's so crazy to see Gia, she's such a beautiful girl, but it's crazy she's 21 years old, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I really feel like time is just going by, because like I said, I've been watching New Jersey since the beginning, and Gia was a little thing, a little tiny thing, and so for her to be 21 years old, beautiful, I'm like, dang, the time is flying. But anyway, so Teresa and Gia, they walk back, and Joe is like, Melissa's husband Joe is like, what is going on? What's this drama? Yada, yada, yada. And Gia basically said, people are basically speaking out of turn, talking about people making comments, that they shouldn't make. And, I understand, because Gia was saying, I understand the issues because you have done the same with my dad. Now, of course, Joe blows up. Now, as we all know, Joe, though I think Joe, is a great guy, I think he, is very emotional, Joe definitely has a hot head. And even though everybody likes to say that Giudice was, a piece of shit guy, which he probably was in ways, we're not going to sit up here and act like majority of the arguments, the physical altercations that happened back in prior seasons between Joe and Joe, Teresa's brother Joe started it. You know what I mean? Joe Gorga is a hothead, whatever. And Gia very calmly made that statement, and Joe got upset. Now, I understand why Joe gets upset, because Joe feels like Joe Gorga feels like Joe Giudice has contributed to a lot of pain that has happened to his family, But at the very end of the day, Joe Giudice is Gia's father. Gia is half of Joe Giudice. Her literal physical being is half of her dad. So regardless of whatever, Gia's going to have her back. The same way, if Melissa were to do something crazy and Melissa and Joe Gorga were not to be together, I guarantee you that Melissa and Joe Gorga's children will be like, I don't give a what Melissa has done to Joe. Teresa, whoever, you don't talk about my mom. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, Joe, you're going to have to kind of walk around a little bit. Now, some of the things that Joe has said in the past, as far as Joe contributing to the death of you know, his mother, Gia's grandmother, you know, that is pretty harsh. You know, at the end of the day, you know, the lady got pneumonia. You know, it's not like, you know, the lady committed, you know, the S word. You know, it's not like, you know, now don't get me wrong, the stress may have contributed to the pneumonia, but at the very end of the day, she was an elderly woman and she caught pneumonia. You know, so I'm not really sure how Joe Giudice can contribute to that. I can see how stress can contribute to being able to fight off something. But again, I could see if, you know, if Joe and Teresa's mother passed away from a direct call, like I said, like if she was so depressed that maybe she committed, you know, S, or, you know, something like that, then you can be like, you know, she's the reason why. But she got, you know, she caught pneumonia. So it's not, you know, so that was kind of harsh, you know what I'm saying? But at the very end of, now see, here's the thing, and let me go off on a tangent before I get into the rest of the episode, right? Honestly, what I feel, because it's layers and layers and layers upon layers with this Joe Gorga and Joe Giudice family feud. You understand what I'm saying? And it's crazy that now that Gia's an adult, and it seems like it's kind of starting to continue, but not really. But what I will say is I don't think that Joe and Melissa are as innocent, you know what I mean, in the family debacle as they try to portray. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say that Joe, you know, tries to blame. I remember Joe in the past, Joe Gorga would say Joe Giudice was the reason why him and his father weren't close. He would say that Joe Giudice was the reason why Teresa and Melissa weren't getting along. He would say that he was the reason why a lot of the drama, basically the drama in his family was happening because of Joe Giudice. But I also remember in seasons after that where Nono was living with Teresa, and one time Nono said out of his own mouth, you know, Joe hasn't called me, Joe Gorga hasn't called me in 2 weeks. Teresa didn't say that. So I think that Nono and the grandmother had issues with the way that Joe was kind of living his life in that non-traditional Italian way. And instead of, you know, Joe accepting the fact, he was like, well, you're putting this in Dad's head, you're putting this in this person's head, you know, you're the reason why my mom died, you're the reason this, that, and the third. And it's crazy because I think that Teresa doesn't take accountability, but just like brother, sister, like family, Joe doesn't either. So I think it when you really look at it honestly, you know, I don't think that Joe and Melissa are as innocent. He constantly is pointing the finger of this, you know, and Gia's like, look, we're not going to do that. And I think it was cool, you know, when Gia wrapped it up basically and was like, listen, I understand you being frustrated about the Joe thing, but it happened so long ago, and you continuously bringing it up and speaking, whether it be truth or not, you speaking about this is affecting my sisters. It's affecting us. He already knows. It's done and over with. My mother has moved on with the relationship. He's out of the country. He doesn't even live here anymore. You know, our grandparents have passed away. They are resting, you know, in their place. So let it go. So I thought that was very mature of Gia. So anyway, moving on. Jenny and Jennifer invites goodness gracious, what's that girl name? The blonde girl, Jackie. Jennifer invites Jackie over to her home, okay? Because, you know, Jennifer is processing. Now, Jennifer is having a birthday party for her daughter 6 months prior to her birthday in summer, I guess because she has a winter birthday and the poor girl never gets to have, you know, a summer party theme. So she's throwing her a party. And Jennifer is basically talking about how, you know, the affair was crazy. When the affair happened, she was pregnant, she was bloated, you know, really sad, you know, it's just crazy, you know, what women go through. But she was basically saying, you know, she wasn't working. She had all these other kids hanging off her tit. She's about to go into labor, and she finds out that Aiden is cheating on her. Now, she said that she didn't tell her mom. She didn't tell anybody. They had a conversation about it and never spoke about it again, okay? Now, what I respect about Jackie, when she sat down and talked to Jennifer, she definitely was empathetic as far as, like, Jennifer having to tell her children, but Jackie was not phony in the least bit. Jackie was like, listen, I agree with Margaret, you know, spilling the tea about you and your husband because you have made comments constantly about other people's marriages all the time. Now, on the flip side, Marge in charge and Dolores is having a conversation, and Dolores is basically saying, you know what, I feel bad for Jennifer. You know what I'm saying? This is something that she didn't want to get out. It happened over a decade ago. And Marge is like, hold on, wait, this is BS. You know, at the very end of the day, she walks around. She talks about how big her house is, how great her marriage is, how handsome her husband is, how I'm a whore, this is a whore. And I found out that she was also going behind our back, trying to reach out to Frank, Dolores's ex-husband, you know, in different ones, trying to get information on Jackie's situation when Teresa put out those cheating rumors. So now Dolores is hot because, you know Dolores don't play about no Frank. Now, you know Dolores don't play about no Frank. And can I just say, why does Frank not want to be with Dolores? Because Dolores is fine. Okay? Dolores is fine, and Frank is fine. I think they would make a really, really nice, cute couple, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, you know Dolores don't pray about no Frank. So when she heard that Jennifer had spoke to Frank about trying to get some tea, now Dolores is pissed off, and she's like, you know what? I don't care. You know, whatever. But now here's what I will say. I honestly see both sides, and this is the Libra in me. I see both sides. I understand what Jennifer is saying in the aspect of Marge, when I talked about you being the other woman, when I talked about your mother being the other woman in y'all's relationships, cheating on your husband, being mistresses and whatnot, that was information. I was saying things and basing my opinion based off information you told me. I didn't go around and parade my tea all around. I basically reacted to what you had put into the atmosphere. Honestly, I don't think Marge was really pissed off at what Jennifer had said about her. I really think that Marge was pissed off about what she said about Marge Sr. Because as we see with Gia, as all this so-called BS that Joe Giudice has done, you see how Gia still has her dad's back. So regardless of what, people have their parents' back. It's just natural. You understand? So I think that Jennifer really was pissed off at the remarks that Jennifer made about Marge Sr. Now, you know, I agree with Jennifer with that. And I also think Marge, I understand your point, but you bringing up Jennifer's husband having an affair on her, to you being married to someone, and while you're married to them, having an affair with somebody that's working in your home, and then you both leaving your partners and remarrying is a completely different situation. I understand what you're saying. You know, it's like, oh, you want to talk about me, but I can understand why Jennifer was so pissed off. Not so pissed off on why she had so many opinions about you being the other girl, because essentially what you were was the same type of woman that was potentially about to get her divorce from her marriage. That's why she had that opinion, and she was basing that opinion off of information that you told. You put out a book about it, you spoke about it, you and your husband are open about it, you brought your ex-husband on the show, you talked about how your stepkids don't speak. You've been vocal about it, so I understand Jennifer's point. I honestly agree a little bit more to the Jackie aspect of it, not so much of the Marge in charge. I respect Marge, you know, standing up for her friend Jackie, but don't try to, I don't like how Marge is trying to be like, well, you want to talk about me being, Marge, you being another woman is completely different from Jennifer living in a Turkish tradition, marrying a man that she was set up and arranged to marry. She probably only had sex with one guy in her entire life, marrying this guy, having kids by this one guy, and then him stepping out and having an affair 10 years ago is completely different than you and your mother having affairs with married men and you having an affair being married yourself and parading it around and her holding those traditional values. I don't think that's the same. Now, the Jackie situation, I am all aboard about you bringing Jennifer's stuff up, because when Teresa brought up that rumor, Jennifer was all into the rumor. Jennifer had Teresa's back. And as we've continued to learn, Jennifer went around. She was trying to collect information about this alleged rumor about her husband cheating. Now, Jackie's situation is right on the same level with Jennifer's situation as far as husbands cheating. Not affairs, not being the mistresses and all that. Like, Marge, I love you. I know you are OG. I knew you was a real one when you and your husband pushed Danielle's husband and you sashayed from the pool and told Danielle that her husband was in the pool. I knew you was a real one then. But Marge, your situation and you being the mistress and your mother being a mistress for 15 years and this, that, and the third, I'm not judging. That's really not on the same level as what Jennifer is going through. I understand the judgmental part, but the actual actions, it doesn't really add up to me. But Jackie, now Jennifer, you was dead ass wrong. And I respect the fact that Jackie didn't want to bring it up because she didn't, I kind of feel with Jackie, it's like, bitch, now you're relishing it, you know, because you're like, oh, I didn't want to bring it up, but now it's brought up. You're like, well, my ass. It's like, Jackie, whatever. And Marge, she don't give a fuck. She's gonna say whatever. She doesn't care. She's like, look, this is what it is. She said it years ago. She didn't tell it all, but she alluded to it years ago. So Marge isn't scared to say it. But I would have respected it or would have understood it a little bit more if it came from Jackie, because Jackie's like, look, you were all in on this rumor, you know, about my husband allegedly cheating. You were all talking to Dolores' ex-husband about me cheating. You were reaching out to people in other towns, trying to find out about this woman, when the whole time your husband cheated, and you would hate if I were to do that to you. You frolic around, you talk about your house, how it's the highest house on the hill, how you can see the sunset, how your husband's this, how your husband's that, how Marge is a whore, how Marge Sr. is a whore, how you going around people's back talking about their marriages, this, that, and the third, when whole time your husband had to change jobs because he was in the pharmaceutical therapist, receptionist, promotion lady. Now, like I said, I understand both sides. But if I had to choose, I'm rocking with the Jackie Marge side. Boo, your tea is out. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, this is a reality TV show. And just like how you were snooping around trying to get information on Jackie, information on your stuff came out. And the crazy thing is clearly you were snooping on Jackie's situation to find out any information. And whatever information that you were to find, I assume you would have exposed it. Or else why would you go seek that information? You weren't seeking out any information, additional information about this affair that Jackie's husband was having just so you can have the information. You were looking for this information so that you could potentially put it out there if you found it. So, hey, Jennifer, now your stuff is out. I feel bad for you. You know, as a woman, I feel bad, you know, about the fact that you were a stay-at-home mom, you know, how you had no resources. I mean, you know, just imagine, like, how, you know, weak, you know, just how, like, useless you probably would feel, you know, as a woman being pregnant. You're not working. All your income is coming from the man that is hurting you. She clearly doesn't come from wealthy parents. She didn't grow up poor, but she didn't grow up wealthy, you know, so it's not like she's like, oh, well, you know, whatever, I'm going to leave my husband and I have an inheritance from my parents, so I'm going to, I mean, and he's cheating, like, I mean, and you're pregnant, you're about to push a baby out of your damn private, I mean, it's, honestly, it's crazy. I mean, I really feel for her in that moment, like, you know what I'm saying, but this is reality TV. Now, let me get on Teresa. Now, we all know Teresa ain't never going to take responsibility for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Teresa will, after she done argued every which way around, she may eventually take accountability, and that's only to get you off her ass. But Teresa did kind of make a decent point. You know, you guys crucified me for bringing up, you know, this rumor I heard about Jackie, but Marge, you did the same thing. Why didn't you wait until after the party? Why didn't you call her up and have a one-on-one? Why didn't you call, you know, an emergency dinner amongst the ladies to talk about it? Why did you wait to have it at my event? Because you chewed my ass out at, you know, my, when I was at Jackie's party. Now, the only thing, now I'm with Teresa on that. I'm totally with Teresa on that aspect of, you know, you said I was this big bad wolf because I brought up a cheating rumor at your party, but then you do the same thing to me. But the only thing I can't get with Teresa is that how can you think that Marge is wrong for doing what she did, but not see how you could have been wrong and see, like, you can't say, well, you did it too, so look at you, you're wrong too, you shouldn't have done that. And then not acknowledge what you did. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like a double, like, you can't be like, well, I was completely right in what I did. Well, if you were completely right in what you did, then Marge should be completely right in what she did. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I'm making sense with that, but it's like, on one hand, Teresa, you're saying, Well, Marge, you should never brought it up because you got in my ass about it, and that's wrong. You don't bring stuff out at parties, you know. But then it's like, well, Teresa, do you think that you were wrong for what you did? Well, no, I don't think I was wrong. It was just a rumor. What you did was worse. No, it's like, Teresa, if Marge is wrong for what she did, you were wrong for what you did. Like, you can't have it both ways. But we all know, and I love Teresa. But we all know Teresa ain't never going to accept responsibility. Teresa, you know, just you gonna let her ride the wave until she wants to accept any type of responsibility. Okay. So, you know, Dolores, let's now that we got the big things out the way, let's kind of decipher through like the little mini things, the side, you know, scenes. Jackie with her family. I love Jackie's family. I think her parents are super sweet. I love the relationship. Her kids seem really happy. I really enjoyed the scene. She's talking about her kids going off to camp. Then we go to Dolores. Dolores is, you know, she has a new townhome. I love Dolores's vibe. You know, I think she's really just kind of like a free spirit, like whatever. Like, I'm here, I'm there. You know, I think Dolores is a really like cool chick. Like, I feel like I would like have fun hanging out with Dolores. So, you know, she said that she's not with David anymore. You know, hey, whatever, Dolores, you're beautiful. Go find somebody, go settle down. And then they had the party. Jennifer comes, you know, she's emotional. And, you know, her and Marge get to talking about the situation. And basically, Jen was basically like, my kid, she's crying. Marge is explaining her side. Jackie gets into it because, you know, Jackie's like, you know, you can't talk about whatever. And like I said, I agree. You know, you can't go around talking about, you know, other people's situation and then cry when your situation comes out. Honestly, I think Jennifer would have been more player if you would have just been like, yeah, he cheated and like it didn't come out. I didn't say anything because it wasn't out. Now that it's out, hey, it happened. I still think you're a whore, Marge. I still think whatever. And if something comes up, then I'm going to investigate it. Like, that's how I would have carried it. Like, Jennifer, you can't really kind of, you know what I'm saying, talk about other people's marriage, other people's, you know, how they got to whatever, and then when your tea come out, you want to be crying, girl. If anything, I would have come out guns a-blazing. Yes, Aiden cheated, and he's fine. Like, what you think? Bitches is on my nigga, and who cares? Next, anyway, you're still whatever. Like, I would have respected Jennifer more. Like, why are you crying? Girl, your tea got out, you're on reality TV. A rumor got out, you know. But yeah, that's my review. You know, I'm going to see if I want to, depending on how good this video goes, I might continue to do, you know, I love Jersey, so I just watch it anyway, regardless. But we'll see. You know, I might continue doing reviews. But let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, do say it.